Here is one of the dehumidifiers I've been using this year. This is an Edison 25 automatic defrost dehumidifier. On the back it says Woods, WC Wood Company Limited, Guelph, Canada. It's model number D25H-RECOND. Uses 7.4 ounces of 134 gas, and it's rated for 4.5 amps. It's from 1996. It's very well made. Has the aluminum coil with no fins on it, which I kind of like this design better. I think it works better. And it's got the standard condenser behind it, which we can't see. Defrost switch, which I'm not sure that's working quite as well as it should be. This didn't fare too good in the spring. Sometimes it worked properly, sometimes it was a bit inconsistent, so we got to check on that towards the fall. But today we're just going to do a regular service on it. I try to service these about every 3 months of operation. There's not much to do besides oil the fan and check the cleanliness of the coils. This was running this morning, so that's why I've got this in there to collect the water that's dripping out. The coil's all wet and the motors might be warm. So we got 3 screws on either side to remove. Go ahead and remove those screws with the screwdriver that fits the screws well. These are very large screws. Okay, this is proving to be more difficult than I would have expected. This one appears to be not wanting to come out. Pushing on the back of the screw, kind of pull it forward so the threads grab. There we go. Got 2 additional screws on the back that are keeping the water tray in place. See, that's going to fall, isn't it? Yeah. Try to get as much of the water off here as we can. It's not much left, it's just a few drops. knob, which just pulls off. take some effort to do it. And this has got 2 more screws on the bottom. Okay, so here's the inside of the machine. It is a fast-go motor, and really all that we need to do mechanically is take this fan motor out and oil it. So we have 2 more screws here. Yeah, a lot more screws on this one than I thought. Looks like this whole apparatus is going to fall. Alright, now we should be able to take the cover off. Side of the machine. So our coil has got a little bit of dust on there. I guess we should probably rinse this out. Actually, this coil is in terrible condition. What the heck? Why is it like that? That's awful. You know, I think this is actually the first time I'm servicing this since I got it. I would have fixed that. That's going to be very challenging to fix, but we'll get it, because this you can pull this forward quite a bit and get in there with the coil comb. So we'll do that. We're going to have to clean the coil off. It's a little dusty. Alright, so we've got more work here to do than I thought. This is a good reason why, it's a good example why you should always check out equipment before you use it when you get it secondhand. I think this, I just put it into service because I needed it urgently, and I would not have been using it if I knew that the coil was like that. That's not good. That's a significant portion of the coil no longer working properly. Let's tackle that first, because that's going to be a little bit tedious and annoying. I might have to take a break for lunch after I do that. So what we're going to use is a coil to comb. This is a coil comb. And we need to find out how many fins per inch is this coil. It looks to me like it's going to be around 18. This is a 16. Let's see, is this going to fit there? No. This other side is 17. Let's try an 18, which is going to be my guess. This is an 18. That's what it is. It's an 18. So we use that one. Jeez, I can't believe it's like that. I guess it's just from this hitting there like that, but how does it even happen? Maybe that happened in transport, I don't know. The fan inherently does not have oil ports, and it is pretty stiff. So we're going to have to take the fan whirl. This is actually going to turn into a couple hours of work here, which I was not expecting to do today. That's fine, we'll get it done. I thought that the fan motor was starting to seem a little bit off in this, and that's kind of what spurred this the servicing here. Oh man, this is not going to be easy. I can't believe how messed up this coil is. Let's see if I can get you guys a better shot on this. So we're just going to go through here and push that coil gently, that comb gently through the coil, and that will that'll correct this issue. How can I adjust this tripod? Is that good? Yeah, that's a pretty good angle. Now, fortunately, with the way this coil is designed, I can just kind of pull this forward a little bit, get some extra room to work. But it's still a very bad angle. So we're going to improve this substantially, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to remove these two bolts on the side here, which are keeping the coil in place, because that will give me a little bit more room to work with. This is a big shame on me for not checking this thing out, because this needs some help. Needs quite a bit of help, actually. Wow. Normally I like to try to get these coils looking really nice, but this is not going to be one of those instances. This is just an improve it and move on, because the angle is just not conducive. You're going to end up doing more damage trying to reach it properly than you will fixing this coil. This is really bad. We're about 1/3 of the way there. Sometimes if this gets so bad, you have to go in there with a flat screwdriver and sort out each piece individually. Some parts of this are at that level. That is really matted in there pretty bad. Alright, we're getting it. It's just taking some time. I guess it must have gotten like this in transport? I don't know. I mean, I can see how it happened, but why it happened, I don't understand. Yeah, we might call that good enough. It's got much better airflow now than it did before. And you can see through the majority of the coil. I think that's good enough. You can spend hours on this trying to make it a thing of cosmetic perfection, and for something that you don't see, I don't think it's worth it. It's got airflow through it now. That's what matters. Exactly what it looks like. Not too concerned about this. Alright, so that's that. Did not expect to see that in there. And I'm kind of embarrassed that I used something like this in that condition for so long, but I guess it's confirmation of what I already knew, that you should always thoroughly check things out before you use them, because you just never know what's happened between purchase and now. Okay, that's fixed. Now we're going to move over to the side. We'll put those screws back that I had removed that were keeping the coil in place. Alright, now let's get this fan motor off of here. See, the blade is stiff. It's very stiff. I could tell, because when I would start it up after dumping the bucket, sometimes it would hesitate to start. So I knew that something was wrong. That's why I stopped for a service point. So we definitely need to take this motor apart. Fortunately, it is just kind of screwed together, so we should be able to take it off, take it apart for service with relative ease. So let's see here. The wires are, let's join with the leads down to the upward. You know, the compressor is all crooked too. I bet this fell over at some point maybe. That compressor is totally crooked. Yeah, this definitely took some serious damage to it at some point. We're going to be able to slip this out like that? Yeah. Okay. It's annoying that there's no oil ports on this. So we need to remove the wiring here. That's a terminal. We can take that off. Let's go ahead and stick this back on there for now so we don't forget where it goes. And then the white side, which is the common, goes down into the compressor terminal area, which is something that you kind of want to avoid playing with if possible. So I would actually rather just snip the wire and put it back with a moret as opposed to removing it from the compressor. Well, it's on the overload switch, or not the overload, the starting apparatus. I think we can get it off. That wasn't too bad. Okay. Alright, so now we should be able to remove the fan entirely. Stick this back here for reference, and I think we're going to give this thing a bath, so we'll close this all back up. Okay. Alright, so now keep this out of the way, and we're good to rinse off the coils. You know what, we'll just, oh, this does come out, okay. Let's take this off of here for now. Make it a little bit easier. Or at least it's supposed to come off. Pinch the inside of it, it should come off. The heck? There we go. So now we can put this in a bag, keep this away from the water, and we'll just throw it in the sink over here and rinse the coil out and get it nice and clean again. The compressor mounts, it definitely fell, because you can see that the guard here is damaged where the compressor hit it, and the compressor mount itself, the compressor is all bent forward, it's scraped on something, so that's really not ideal. And we kind of need to, we're going to have to, I guess, unmount the compressor, and hopefully I can put a vise on these, on the mount here, and bend it back. I mean, this is really messed up here. It's not at an angle that's so bad that it's going to cause an oil flow issue, but it's definitely not the way that it should be. Let's see if I can fix it easily. Actually, I think I'm going to be able to. It's pretty soft metal. This whole thing is all bent up here. Wow. Well, that's not too much better. It's a little better, but it's not really where it needs to be still. It is actually quite crooked. Looking at it from the side, it's much worse than I thought. This is a little bit tricky. I think the mount is a little bent, but what's really bent is the compressor on the mount, and that I don't think so is worth playing with. Let me think about this one for a minute off video. I think we're gonna call it on this compressor mount fiasco and just leave it alone. I've tried multiple different things to try to bend the bracket back, and it's just, you'd have to take the whole compressor out, and lines go through here. I have to cut this, and then it's just a whole lot of trouble for something that's not worth it. Plus, everything's already been bent, and it's still okay. So it's probably better to just leave it alone, as opposed to try to bend it back and then potentially damage something in the process. So we're just going to leave it alone. Yes, it's crooked. It's not the way that it should be, but it's not crooked enough that it's going to really cause a problem. It's a little bit better, but not very much. And then of course over here you've got the terminal box. I didn't really play with this side at all. I suppose I could try, if there's room. You gotta remember, everything over here is very delicate because it's under a lot of pressure. I could potentially try to bend the bracket if I can get this. No, I can't get it down in a safe distance. It's just going to be the way it is. It's not the way it should be, but that's often how things are. Well, there's one thing I could potentially try. I could try to just bend this leg upwards. Because if I could bend that upwards, then it would be more level. I really need to detach this from the whole apparatus here to properly do this. I can't quite get the tool under there enough. Because we don't need to just bend the tips, we got to bend the whole thing, which I can't get a good grip on it to do that. Yeah, I'm not bending the right spot here. You know what? I actually think that we're getting somewhere. Well, it's a little better. Actually, that did make an improvement. The problem is the compressor is actually bent on the bottom where the mount attaches, and that I can't fix with this, doing it like this. Well, we've pushed our luck pretty far with this. I think it's time to quit while we're still ahead. I could try to bend the front down, but you know, at some point it's like that's a lot better than it was. A lot better than it was. I think I'd like it to be level, I really would, but at some point enough is enough. Yeah, it's actually very close to being level now. We're gonna call it there. Now we messed up the front here. That was already a little bit messed up, which is another indicator that it fell. See, it's all bent up there. That was not from this operation. Okay, well, it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. Okay, see, now the compressor is almost level. It's not level, but it's better. That's not too bad in comparison to the rest of the units. Alright, it's good enough. Okay. So now I think I'm going to take a break for lunch. Actually, you know what I'll do is we'll wash this first. And then while I'm eating, it can be drying. Then we'll come back and take care of the fan motor. And it can still be drying. Because we're going to wash this inside. Because it is raining out today. It's raining and it's so humid out that the thing would never dry outside. Okay. So I'm just going to take this over to the sink, drop it right in, and we'll clean it in the sink. Got it right here in the sink. This is great. I really like this new cleaning area. So we've got the sprayer here. Not quite as strong as the garden hose is, but it is getting through the coil. It's only one layer thick, so it won't take much. A little messy though. Should put the, you got a cover to put over this stuff. That'll work. Look at those box fan guards, are coming out nice and clean. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to use some of this Dawn soap. For evaporators, when it's just dust, this is really good enough. Well, actually, this is not an evaporator. Technically, this is a condenser, but it's an indoor coil because this whole unit's an indoor piece of equipment. If it's just dust, this is fine. If you got mold or an outdoor condenser, you know, you need a little more than this, but I don't want to use condenser cleaner in the sink here. That's not setting up for success. Got a very soft brush I'm wiping down the inside of it with. Okay, the dishwasher is done. Very curious to see how those guards came out. A little bit of grime in the air chamber. We'll just wipe that out of there. Some grime in here. Get that off. The spray is good enough to get all the way through, so it's rinsing the coil just fine, even though it's not as high pressure as the garden hose. Yeah, we'll just keep rinsing until we don't see any more soap. Granted, the soap is nowhere near as corrosive, if it's even corrosive at all, as compared to the coil cleaner, so I don't have to go as crazy with the rinsing. Yeah, I am still getting a fair bit of soap out of here. This has only been off for about an hour, and it's already going up to 54% humidity. It was down to about 44 this morning. I gotta get this thing back on. I think all the soap is gone now. Coil is certainly in much better condition than it was. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here to dry. I'll put the fan on here to dry it out. Let it dry for a little while. I was going to take a break for lunch. We'll come back and work on the motor, and hopefully by then this is dry. Now we're going to take a look at the motor. I'm very disappointed that this motor does not have oil ports, because now this is not a quick procedure like it should be. We have to open the motor up and oil it manually. So we're going to begin by removing the blade. Which should come off fairly easily because it's the plastic. Well, the clip is not coming off very easily at all. I can't believe that this thing was actually still running. This is so stiff. I mean, that's ridiculous. Wow. What is up with this clip? I've never had this kind of trouble with one of these clips before. It's of an odd design where when you press this, it like pushes away, and I can't grab it with the pliers. That's the problem. I wonder if this requires a particular tool. So what's happening is when I pull this back, it comes in front of these two, and then the pliers loses the grip. So there's like, I don't know how you're supposed to I don't know how you're supposed to get this off. There might be a particular tool. The blade is not strong enough to really push it up and off like that. There we go. It's kind of stupid. Now we got another clip on here. This one just kind of comes off like that. Wow, I can't believe how stiff this is. I'm shocked that this was still even starting up. That's terrible. That is so stiff. I am shocked that this was still able to start up by itself. Wow. Not good. This is the typical source of failure in these units, is these motors go bad due to lack of lubrication. And this one, we can't even really blame the previous user, because there's no way for the typical user to oil this thing. Now that freed it right up, just a drop of oil in the front. But we're going to take it apart and go through it thoroughly. But just for show, let's see, this is much more free now than it was before. But we're going to open this up and fill up the wicks with oil so that this will last a long time. This is a Fiasco motor, and these are very good quality motors, but I guess this one is not old enough to have the oil ports. Okay. Now, let's see here. I don't think that we're going to remove the bearing through the shaft because oh, let's see. Yeah, we don't have to because it doesn't need to be cleaned. It's freed up perfectly fine. We just need to add oil to both sides. This is a little bit stubborn here. Man, this whole project is not relenting here. Nothing to really grab onto. Try to split this open. There we go. Okay. So that's actually enough. Now, curiously, there is plenty of oil in the back bearing. I'll add some more anyways, but there's plenty there because it doesn't see any airflow. So inside the motor here in the back there's a wick-like material around the bearing, and we're going to go ahead and fill that with oil. Take probably a good 10 to 15 drops in there. Now this oil is 3-in-1 in a blue can, which is specifically for fans. See, there's a picture of a fan right there for fans. Spilled a little bit of oil, so we're going to wipe the excess oil out of there. Alright. Now I guess we do need to remove the shaft from the bearing in order to get at that wick in the front. We might have to put the motor back on and turn it on and then file down the shaft. There's some junk on the shaft there which is causing resistance. And do not want to force the bearing over that part of the shaft. It'll score it and ruin it. Alright. Got it off. So while we're in here, we'll go ahead and clean this up. See, this is dried out. It got all gummed up and is kind of sticky now. So we're going to clean all that junk out of there. Get this all nice and clean again. Take that stuff off and wash behind this. The back is perfectly clean, so we're just going to leave that alone. I don't like to mess with stuff that's working. Well, I guess the work table is not level. I thought it was. We'll clean out the shaft a little bit here, or to clean out the bearing rather. See, there's some old gummed up oil in there. It's a shame that these didn't use ball bearing motors. The refrigeration systems in these units hardly ever go out. It's always these stupid fan motors. So the bearing has been cleaned. Got all that junky oil out of there that's dried out. Now we're going to relubricate those white felt pieces around there. Those hold oil, and the oil will be absorbed through the bearing over time as it gets used up. So we're going to just fill this up with oil here and let it soak in. It's going to take quite a bit because the bearings were so dry. On an older motor, there would be a hole here. There would be a hole somewhere, maybe like right here, and you just put oil in it from the outside, but nowadays, can't do that anymore. At least this motor, and this is a 90s motor, I'm a little surprised this doesn't have it. A lot of these still had the holes in the 90s. And the Fasco brand is a top of the line motor, so it's not like this motor is a piece of junk. Now this should last quite a few years if you put enough oil in here. I mean, this motor, it's had a good run. This thing is 1996, so it's almost 30 years old, and this is likely the first time it's had any kind of problems. So, alright, there we go. It's oiled up now. I'll put a little bit of oil on the shaft here. Put this back in. Now this motor has a thermally resetting fuse. You can see it right there. So at least if this did lock up and stop spinning, it would not burn out immediately. Alright, now we'll stick this back in here, making sure that the holes line up properly. The screw holes. If it's not lined up, the bolts won't go through. Now that's pretty much all I was expecting to have to do on this video. In fact, even that was more than I was expecting. But this turned into quite the production here. I thought this would be like a 10-minute video, if that. Probably up to an hour or two by now. Oh well, sometimes that happens. You do what it takes to get the equipment in good working order again. Okay. Now, this happened to line up pretty good. But if it doesn't line up pretty good, you can just take a screwdriver and whack the shaft a little bit. They're self-aligning bearings, so they'll line up and free up real quick. Alright, so now if you stick the stupid blade back on, it's the blade I guess isn't stupid, it's just the clip that's stupid. A little bit of dust on here, so we'll wipe that off right quick. Yeah, see how much more freely this is spinning now? That's how it's supposed to be. It's much better. Where's that dumb clip? I don't see why we really need anything beyond that. I think that one is good enough because it's a slotted shaft. It's not like it's going to spin on there, but I'll try to put this on anyways. Alright, the fan has been serviced, ready to go back in. The rest of the machine should be dry. I'll go get it and bring it back over and then we can continue. Now you can see through the whole coil. That's the way it's supposed to be. So this should be running a lot better now. The compressor is still crooked, but we made it better. It's just, that's the way it's going to be. Let's get our fan motor in. Something that's been a point of curiosity to me recently is, what if we reverse this fan so that we push air through the condenser into the evaporator zone for winter time, because then the air going into the evaporator would be warmer, which should yield higher dehumidification anyways. It almost seems like, duh, why is it not set up that way? But they're all set up this way, I suspect for points of efficiency, because the compressor will draw less power with the cold air passing over the condenser, but I'm far more interested in reliable performance than I am efficiency. So that's something that we might try at some point. Okay. Now, the control panel, goes up here. Stick this back into here. That. Refeed the fan wires through there. Alright, I think that we know that goes down there. I'm going to look back on the video to see which wire went where. I don't know if this matters. I know both of these went on here. I don't know if it matters which ones. I don't think that it should, because it's just power. It's power in and it's power out to the fan and compressor. But I'll review the video just to make sure we have it right. It actually doesn't matter if we get it wrong, because all this is going to do is it's either going to send power to the light, the full bucket full indicator, or the system, depending on the position of the switch. So if it operates inversely, then we'll just have to switch it. So the high side goes on to this with the compressor, and then that goes on here. Like that. And then this, I think the red was on the bottom, but we'll find out. And this, which I did not like messing with, goes down here with this common. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug this in, turn it on, and make sure that everything is in fact set up correctly. Okay, everything is running. Fan started right up. hear the gas. This is getting cold. And now if the switch is set up correctly, if I press the bucket switch up to simulate water in the bucket, it turns off and the light comes on. Okay, so everything is wired correctly. And we're pretty much done here. Just put the cover back on and that'll be it. It's way more work than I anticipated, but that's okay. Sometimes that happens. I should have done that work when I first got the machine. So that's a total shame on me. I will eat that one because that is my fault. At least we caught it before there was a serious problem. You know, a lot of people won't pay attention to how the stuff operates, and then it locks up, and then that's it. And so we caught it before then. This has to go like there is supposed to be a filter that goes here. I can see the holes. There's 4 holes this a filter would fit into. The filter did not come to me with it, and I don't think so that I have one that will fit. So we'll just use it without. It's not that dusty down here. Any dust that's down here is very fine, and it would go through a cheesy filter like that anyways. I'm gonna go wash off this grate. The whole thing could use a good cleaning. Looks a lot better than it did before. I didn't realize how dirty this actually was. I guess it was just in relation to some of the other things I get, it seemed pretty clean. Alright, we are all set here once we get this knob back on. Okay, now we're good.